Admiral Kang Wu stood in the command room of the human ship Terra's Pride. The metal walls around him hummed with power. Outside the thick windows, stars dotted the black space like tiny diamonds. He had been staring at those stars for hours now, but his mind was not on their beauty. In his hands, he held a datapad. The screen showed words that made his stomach feel sick. These were not orders from Earth Command. These were not reports from his officers. These were messages that Captain Li Na had brought to him just 2 hours ago. Messages that changed everything. Kang Wu had been a soldier for 40 years. He had fought in 20 battles across the galaxy. He had led human fleets against enemies who wanted to hurt innocent people. At least that is what he had always believed. Now, as he read the words on the datapad again, he wondered if anything he knew was true. The door to the command room opened with a soft hiss. Captain Li Na walked in. Her face was pale and her hands shook slightly. She was one of the bravest officers Kang Wu had ever known, but today she looked scared. "Admiral," she said, her voice quiet, "I have more information about the Zephyrian messages." Kang Wu nodded. 3 days ago, their fleet had destroyed the Zephyrian homeworld. The Galaxy Council had told them that the Zephyrians were rebels. They said the Zephyrians were planning to attack peaceful worlds. They said human forces needed to stop them before innocent people died. So the human fleet had gone to the Zephyrian system. They had fired their weapons at the planet until nothing lived. 40 million Zephyrians had died in 1 day. Kang Wu had given the order himself. He thought he was saving lives, but Li Na had found something just before the attack. Radio messages from the Zephyrian world, messages that her team had only finished translating today, messages that told a very different story. "What did you find?" Kang Wu asked. Li Na put another datapad on the table. "Sir, the Zephyrians were not rebels. They were trying to send warnings to other worlds. They had discovered something about the Galaxy Council. Something terrible." Kang Wu picked up the new datapad. The first message was dated 6 months ago. It was from the Zephyrian leader to the government of a nearby star system. "Friends," the message began, "we have learned that the Galaxy Council is lying to everyone. They are not protecting the galaxy. They are stealing from worlds and making slaves of entire species. We have proof. Please listen to us before it is too late." The message went on to explain that the Zephyrians had found secret council records. The records showed that the council was taking resources from weaker worlds. When those worlds tried to resist, the council called them rebels and sent human fleets to destroy them. Kang Wu felt his blood turn cold. He scrolled to the next message. This one was sent just 2 weeks before the human attack. "Please, anyone who receives this message, you must know the truth. The humans are being used. They do not know what they are really doing. The Galaxy Council tells them we are dangerous, but we only want freedom. We only want to live in peace. If you are human and you hear this, please understand that we are not your enemies." The datapad fell from Kang Wu's hands and clattered on the metal floor. For 30 years he had served the Galaxy Council. For 30 years he had believed he was fighting for peace and justice. His fleet had destroyed 17 worlds in that time. Billions of people had died. How many others? He asked in a whisper. Li Na understood what he meant. "We checked the records from our other missions, sir. Every world we destroyed had sent similar messages. They were all trying to warn other species about the Council. None of them were actually planning attacks on innocent worlds." The room felt like it was spinning around Kang Wu. He sat down hard in his command chair. All those battles, all those victories he had been proud of, all those medals Earth Command had given him for protecting the galaxy. They meant nothing. Worse than nothing. "Sir," Li Na continued, "there is more. Kim Tae found financial records in the Zephyrian data. After each world we destroyed, the Galaxy Council moved in to take their resources. Rare metals, energy sources, anything valuable. They were using us to clear the way for them to steal everything. Kim Tae was their intelligence officer. If he said the records were real, they were real. Kang Wu trusted him completely. "Show me," Kang Wu said. Li Na activated the wall screen. Numbers and charts appeared. They showed council ships arriving at destroyed worlds within days of human attacks. They showed massive amounts of resources being taken away. They showed the wealth of the Galaxy Council growing after each human victory. "We were not peacekeepers," Kang Wu said slowly. "We were thieves, murderers." "No, sir," Li Na said firmly. "We were soldiers following orders. We believed we were doing the right thing. The Council lied to us. They used our desire to help people against us." But Kang Wu could not feel better about it. Good intentions did not bring back the dead. 43 billion people had died because human fleets followed Galaxy Council orders. 43 billion innocent people who had only wanted to be free. The communication system beeped. A message was coming in from Earth Command. Kang Wu almost did not want to answer it. He knew what it would say. New orders, another world to attack, another group of rebels to destroy. He was right. The message ordered his fleet to move to the Terrellian Confederation. 6 peaceful worlds that had formed a trade alliance. The Council claimed they were planning to attack Council territory. The Council wanted them eliminated. Kang Wu looked at Li Na. She had read the message too. Her face was hard with anger. "What are your orders, sir?" she asked. For the first time in 40 years, Admiral Kang Wu did not know what to do. Everything he had believed in was a lie. Every battle he had won was actually a defeat for justice. The Galaxy Council had turned him and every human soldier into tools of evil. But now he knew the truth. Now he had a choice. He could follow orders and help murder 6 more peaceful worlds, or he could do something else. Something that might save innocent lives for the first time in 30 years. "Get me a secure line to all human ships," he said, "and prepare to send a message to the Terrellian Confederation. We need to warn them about what is coming." Li Na smiled for the first time in days. "Yes, sir." The truth was terrible, but it was also the beginning of something new. Something better. Something that might make up for all the evil they had done without knowing it. The news spread through the human fleet like fire through dry grass. On every ship, in every room, soldiers learned the truth about what they had been doing for 30 years. The Galaxy Council had used them, lied to them, turned them into killers of innocent people. Commander Park Jin stood on the bridge of the battleship New Seoul. Around him, his officers sat in stunned silence. They had just finished reading the reports that Admiral Kang Wu had sent to every ship in the fleet. The proof was clear. Every mission they had completed, every world they had attacked, every victory they had celebrated, all of it had been built on lies. "Sir," said Lieutenant Cho Min from her communication station, "we are getting messages from all the other ships. The crews want to know what we are going to do now." Park Jin understood how they felt. His own heart was full of anger and shame. How could they have been so blind? How could they have trusted the Galaxy Council without question for so long? But there was something else in the messages Cho Min had intercepted, something that made his anger burn even hotter. These were not just communications between human ships. She had also found secret Galaxy Council transmissions, messages between Council members talking about the human fleet. "Put the Council messages on the main screen," Park Jin ordered. The bridge crew watched as alien faces appeared on the screen. These were the beings who had been giving them orders for decades. The beings they had trusted to tell them right from wrong. "The humans are so easy to control," one of them was saying. "They actually believe they are helping people. It would be funny if it were not so useful." Another alien laughed. "Yes, their sense of honor makes them perfect weapons. They fight harder when they think they are protecting the weak. Much better than using our own forces. And they never question orders," added a third. "Other species ask too many questions. But humans, tell them someone is evil and needs to be stopped, and they will destroy entire worlds without hesitation." The recording continued for several minutes. The council members joked about human stupidity. They laughed about how easy it was to make humans kill for them. They called human soldiers attack dogs and useful idiots. When the recording ended, the bridge was completely quiet. Park Jin could see his officers' faces turning red with rage. These aliens had not just used them. They had mocked them, made fun of their desire to do good, turned their greatest strength into a joke. "Sir," Cho Min said, her voice shaking with emotion, "there are more recordings. Hours of them. The council has been talking about us like this for years." Park Jin nodded. "Send copies to every human ship. Make sure everyone hears what they really think of us." But the rage was not the worst part. The worst part was what the truth was doing to his people. Dr. Yoon Hai, the chief doctor for the fleet's mental health, had been sending reports to all ship commanders. The reports were frightening. Human soldiers were breaking down. Some could not stop crying. Others had stopped eating. Many could not sleep. The knowledge that they had killed billions of innocent people was destroying them from the inside. On Park Jin's own ship, 3 soldiers had tried to kill themselves in the past day. They could not live with what they had done, even though they had not known it was wrong at the time. Dr. Yoon Hai had come to see Park Jin personally that morning. She looked tired and worried. "Commander," she had said, "we are losing people, not to enemy weapons but to guilt and shame. They feel like monsters even though they were just following orders they thought were good." "How do we help them?" Park Jin had asked. "We give them hope," she had replied. "We show them that they can make up for what happened. But first we need to make sure nothing like this ever happens again." Dr. Yunhai was running group meetings on every ship. She was helping soldiers understand that being tricked did not make them evil. She was teaching them that the real monsters were the ones who had lied to them, not the ones who had believed the lies. But it was hard work. Park Jin had attended one of the meetings himself. He had listened to young soldiers talk about the nightmares they were having, dreams where the people they had killed came back to ask why, dreams where their own families looked at them with fear and disgust. "We thought we were heroes," one soldier had said. "How do we live with being the villains instead?" "You are not villains," Dr. Yunhai had told them. "You were victims. The Galaxy Council victimized every person you killed, and they victimized you too. They stole your honor and used it as a weapon." Meanwhile, other officers were discovering more terrible truths. Colonel Jiangsu was in charge of gathering intelligence about Council activities. What he found made the situation even worse. The Council had not just been stealing resources from the worlds humans destroyed. They had been planning it for years. Every mission had been carefully chosen. The Council would find a world with valuable materials. Then they would make up a story about that world being dangerous. Then they would send human forces to destroy it. Finally, they would move in and take everything valuable. "They have been using us as their personal army for decades," Jiangsu reported to Park Jin. "And we made it so easy for them. We never asked questions. We never demanded proof. We just trusted them completely." The worst part was how well the system had worked. The Galaxy Council had become incredibly rich and powerful by using human military force. And humans had been happy to help because they thought they were doing good. But now the truth was spreading beyond just the human fleet. Some of the messages Admiral Kang Wu had sent were reaching other species. Alien governments that had lost contact with colonies were learning what had really happened to them. The response was what Park Jin expected. Fear and hatred. For 30 years, human ships had been the most terrifying sight in the galaxy. When human forces arrived at a star system, it meant death and destruction were coming. Now those same species were learning that humans had been tricked too. Some felt sorry for them. Others did not care. They had lost their worlds and their people, and it did not matter to them whether humans had meant to do evil or not. "We cannot change the past," Park Jin told his officers during their daily meeting. "We cannot bring back the dead, but we can make sure this never happens again, and we can make the beings who used us pay for what they did." The anger in the room was thick enough to touch. These were professional soldiers who had spent their careers following orders and protecting others. Learning that they had been made into tools of murder and theft had broken something inside them, but it had also created something new. A cold, focused rage that Park Jin had never seen before. His people were not just angry at being used. They were angry at being mocked and dismissed. They were angry at having their honor stolen and twisted. "What are we going to do about it, sir?" asked one of his officers. Park Jin looked around the room at faces that had aged years in just a few days. These were good people who had learned they had been doing evil things. Now they wanted to make it right. "We are going to show the Galaxy Council what happens when you lie to humans," he said. "We are going to teach them why they should have treated us with respect instead of using us like tools." The room erupted in agreement. Voices called out suggestions for revenge, ideas for punishment, plans for justice. Park Jin held up his hand for quiet. "But first," he said, "we are going to save the Terrellians. We are going to prove that we can be what we always thought we were, protectors of the innocent." The change in his people was immediate. The guilt and shame were still there, but now there was also purpose. Hope. A chance to do something right for the first time in 30 years. The Galaxy Council had made a terrible mistake. They had turned humanity's greatest strength against innocent people. But now that strength would be turned against them instead. On Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galaxy Council, Counselor Zekthara walked through the golden halls of power with confidence in every step. The morning reports had been excellent. The human fleet had successfully eliminated another troublesome world. The Zephyrian system was now empty and ready for Council resource extraction teams. Zekthara had been managing human forces for 15 years. In that time, they had proven to be the most effective military tool the Council had ever used. Other species asked too many questions. They wanted proof of wrongdoing before they would attack. They sometimes refused orders if they thought civilians might be hurt. But humans were different. Humans had something the Council had learned to use perfectly: a strong desire to help others and stop evil. Tell a human that innocent people were in danger, and they would fight with incredible courage and determination. Tell them that someone was planning to hurt the weak, and they would destroy entire worlds to stop it. The best part was that humans never seemed to learn from experience. Even after 30 years of following Council orders, they still trusted completely. They still believed every story they were told. They still thought they were heroes saving the galaxy from evil. Counselor Zekthara, came a voice from behind him. He turned to see Aide Morkath hurrying to catch up. We have received the confirmation from the human fleet. The Zephyrian elimination is complete. Resource extraction can begin immediately. Zekthara smiled. Excellent. And what of their next assignment? They have been ordered to move against the Tyrellian Confederation. The humans should arrive there within 6 standard days. This news made Zekthara even happier. The Tyrellian Confederation was a collection of 6 peaceful worlds that had recently formed a trade alliance. They were not planning any attacks. They had not threatened anyone. Their only crime was trying to trade with each other instead of going through Council-controlled markets. The Council could not allow independent trade networks to develop. If species started trading freely with each other, they would not need to pay the heavy taxes and fees that made the Council rich. So the Tyrellians had to be eliminated and their worlds had to be taken over. But the Council could not simply attack them directly. That would make other species suspicious. Instead, they would use the same method that had worked so well for 30 years. They would tell the humans that the Tyrellians were dangerous rebels who needed to be stopped. The humans believed our story about Tyrellian aggression? Zekthara asked. Of course, Morkath replied. They always believe our stories. We told them that the Tyrellians were building secret weapons to attack civilian targets. The human admiral accepted the mission without question. Zekthara laughed. It was almost too easy. Humans were so predictable. Show them evidence of potential harm to innocent people, and they would mobilize their entire fleet to prevent it. They never seemed to realize that the Council could create fake evidence whenever needed. But far from Nexus Prime, on a human ship at the edge of Tyrellian space, something was happening that Zekthara did not know about. Something that would change everything. Major Song B sat in a small, secure room aboard the intelligence ship Quiet Hunter. Around her were screens showing intercepted communications from across the galaxy. For 3 days, she and her team had been monitoring Council transmissions. What they had found was making them sick with anger. The Galaxy Council was not just lying to humans about current missions. They were actively laughing about how easy humans were to fool. In message after message, Council members joked about human stupidity and mocked their sense of honor. Listen to this one, said Sergeant Ko Yun, one of Song B's best code breakers. He played a recording of 2 Council members talking. I heard the humans actually cried when they thought they had accidentally hurt civilians on Kepler 7, one was saying. Cried? The other replied with laughter. These creatures have no idea that every single target we have given them has been civilian. They think they are warriors for justice. They are actually just our exterminators. Song B felt her hands clench into fists. Kepler 7 had been one of her first missions as a young officer. She remembered the human commander being so careful to avoid civilian areas. She remembered the relief everyone felt when they thought they had only destroyed military targets. Now she knew the truth. There had been no military targets on Kepler 7. The entire world had been made up of peaceful farming communities. The Council had simply wanted their land for a new industrial complex. Major, said another member of her team, I have intercepted the real intelligence reports about the Tyrellians. The ones the Council keeps secret from us. Song B looked at the new information. According to the secret reports, the Tyrellian Confederation was exactly what they claimed to be, a peaceful trade alliance. They had no military forces beyond basic police. They had no weapons capable of threatening other worlds. They had never made any aggressive moves toward anyone. Their only crime was that their independent trade network was starting to make them wealthy. Wealthy enough that other species were asking to join them. Wealthy enough that the Council was losing control of trade in that region of space. So they want us to kill 6 worlds full of peaceful traders, Song B said. just so the council can keep making money from trade taxes. It gets worse, Major, Koyun said. Look at this. He showed her financial records that his team had managed to steal from council computers. The records showed exactly what happened after each world the humans destroyed. Council companies would move in immediately. They would strip the planets of anything valuable, metals, energy sources, even the soil if it was good for farming. The records showed that the council had made trillions of credits from resources taken from worlds that humans had pacified. Every single battle humanity had fought, for the council had made the council richer and more powerful. We have been their collection agents, Songbi said with disgust. They point us at a world they want to steal from. We destroy it and they take everything valuable. But the most important discovery was yet to come. In the deepest files they had been able to access, Songbi's team found the council's long-term plans for humanity. The plans made it clear that the council had always intended to use humans until they were no longer needed. Once the galaxy was completely under council control, human forces would be eliminated. The council could not risk leaving such a powerful military force alive once they knew the truth. They are planning to kill us all anyway, Songbi reported to Admiral Kang Wu over secure communication. After we finish conquering the galaxy for them, they intend to get rid of us. The response from Admiral Kang Wu was immediate. Major Song, I want you to make contact with the Tyrellians immediately. We are not going to attack them. We are going to warn them about what is coming. This was the moment that would change galactic history forever. For the first time in 30 years, a human fleet was going to disobey Galaxy Council orders. Captain Yu Dan commanded the fast scout ship River Wind. His mission was to reach the Tyrellian homeworld before the main human fleet arrived. His job was to make contact and explain the truth about the Galaxy Council's deception. The journey to Tyrellian space gave Yu Dan time to think about what he was going to say. How do you tell a peaceful species that you are supposed to kill them? How do you explain that you have been murdering innocent people for 30 years because you were lied to? When he arrived at the Tyrellian homeworld, the response was what he expected. Fear. The Tyrellians knew about human military power. They knew that human ships meant death and destruction. Several of their defensive satellites tried to lock weapons onto his ship. Tyrellian Command, this is Captain Yu Dan of the human vessel River Wind. He broadcast on all frequencies. I am not here to attack you. I am here to warn you about a terrible lie that threatens your entire civilization. It took hours of careful negotiation before the Tyrellians agreed to meet with him. When Captain Yu Dan finally sat across from Elder Morthak, the leader of the Tyrellian Confederation, he could see the fear and confusion in the alien's eyes. Your people have been told that we are dangerous rebels, Elder Morthak said. The Galaxy Council has ordered you to eliminate us. Why should we believe that you are here to help instead? Yu Dan activated his datapad and showed the Elder everything. The intercepted Council communications, the financial records showing resource theft, the proof that every human mission had been based on lies. As Elder Morthak read through the evidence, his expression changed from fear to horror to anger. All those worlds that human forces destroyed, he said slowly. They were all innocent? All of them, Yu Dan confirmed. And now the Council wants us to do the same thing to you. But we refuse. We will not be their tools anymore. Elder Morthak was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke again. Your species was chosen for this precisely because of your moral strength, he said. The Council needed beings who would fight with total conviction when they believed they were protecting others. They weaponized your greatest virtue, Yu Dan nodded. And now we are going to use that same strength to stop them. The Galaxy Council made one terrible mistake. They created the perfect enemy, a species with overwhelming military power. The human fleet gathered at the edge of Council space like a storm preparing to break. Every ship in the Armada carried the weight of 30 years of deception and 43 billion innocent deaths. Admiral Kang Wu stood on the bridge of Terra's Pride, looking out at the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. For 3 days, ships had been arriving from across human space. Battle cruisers from Earth, destroyers from the Mars colonies, carriers from the Outer Rim worlds. When Earth Command learned the truth about the Galaxy Council's lies, they had sent everything they had. Sir, said Communications Officer Lim. So, we are receiving confirmation from all ships. The fleet is ready for your broadcast. Kang Wu nodded. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Every inhabited world within range would receive their message. Council territories, neutral systems, and the scattered survivors of species humanity had unknowingly helped destroy. The entire galaxy would witness what happened when you betrayed Earth's children. Open all channels, Kang Wu ordered. Maximum broadcast power. I want this message to reach every corner of known space. The main screen activated, showing Kang Wu's face to billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Behind him, the bridge crew of Terra's Pride stood at attention. Through the windows, the massive human fleet stretched out into space like an ocean of metal and fire. People of the galaxy, Kang Wu began, his voice carrying the weight of an entire species' rage. I am Admiral Kang Wu of the Human Space Force. For 30 years, my people have served as military enforcers for the Galaxy Council. We believed we were protecting the innocent and maintaining galactic peace. He paused, letting the words sink in across space. We were wrong. We were deceived. We were used. On every human ship, crews watched their admiral speak the words they all felt in their hearts. Captain Lee. Na stood beside Kang Wu, her face hard with controlled anger. Behind them, the evidence of the Council's betrayal played on smaller screens throughout the bridge. The Galaxy Council told us we were fighting dangerous rebels who threatened peaceful worlds. They showed us evidence of planned attacks on civilian targets. They convinced us that military action was the only way to prevent massive loss of innocent life. Kang Wu's voice grew harder. Every single piece of evidence was a lie. Every mission we completed was based on deception. Every world we attacked was peaceful. Every person who died was innocent. On worlds throughout the galaxy, beings watched in stunned silence. The human military had been the most feared force in known space for decades. Now they were learning that this terrifying weapon had been wielded through lies and manipulation. We have discovered recordings of Galaxy Council members laughing about our pathetic moral compass. They called us useful idiots and attack dogs. They mocked our desire to protect others while using that same desire to turn us into tools of genocide. The recordings began to play. Council voices filled the transmission, speaking with contempt about human honor and making jokes about how easy humans were to fool. The galaxy heard alien leaders discussing humans like they were stupid animals to be trained and used. They weaponized our greatest strength, Kang Wu continued, our willingness to fight and die to protect the innocent. They took that virtue and twisted it into a tool for murder and theft. On Nexus Prime, Counselor Zekathera watched the broadcast with growing horror. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were not supposed to question orders. They were not supposed to discover the truth. They were supposed to remain obedient tools until the Council was ready to dispose of them. Summon the full Council immediately, he ordered his aides. We need to prepare our defenses, but it was already too late. The human fleet had spent 3 decades learning every detail of Council space. They knew the location of every military base, every defensive station, every government facility. They had built their technology specifically to counter Council weapons and shields. Now all that knowledge would be turned against its original masters. We have evidence of the Council's crimes, Admiral Kang Wu announced to the galaxy. Financial records showing the theft of resources from destroyed worlds. Communication intercepts proving systematic deception, military intelligence revealing their plans to eliminate humanity once we were no longer useful to them. The evidence scrolled across screens throughout known space, documents that proved the Council had been using human forces as a private army for conquest and resource theft. Records showing that every rebel world humanity had destroyed had been chosen not for any threat they posed, but for the valuable materials they possessed. 43 billion innocent beings died because we believed the Galaxy Council's lies. 43 billion people who only wanted to live in peace. Their deaths cannot be undone, but their murders can be avenged. The temperature in space itself seemed to drop as Admiral Kang Wu's voice became cold and final. To the Galaxy Council, who played us for fools and turned our honor into their weapon, who made us killers of innocence while we believed we were heroes, humanity offers our response. The pause stretched across the galaxy as billions of beings held their breath. On human ships, crew members gripped their weapons and prepared for what was coming. On Council worlds, leaders frantically tried to activate defensive systems that had not been tested against human technology. Admiral Kang Wu looked directly into the camera, his eyes reflecting the cold fury of an entire species betrayed. When he spoke again, his voice carried the promise of extinction itself. Exterminatus. The single word resonated across every human ship like a bell of judgment. On Terra's Pride, Captain Lee Na felt a chill run down her spine. She had never heard so much focused rage contained in one word. On the stealth destroyer Silent Vengeance, Captain Im Jun received the word and immediately began targeting procedures. Colonel Baek Ho herded aboard his ship hidden in the outer rim and started the engines for an attack run. Lieutenant Commander OU prepared her squadron for the operation that would end 30,000 years of council rule. This is not a declaration of war, Admiral Kang Woo continued, his voice still echoing with that terrible word. War suggests that both sides have a chance of victory. This is a promise of complete and total annihilation. We will tear down every council facility. We will eliminate every council leader. We will make sure that no trace of their corrupt system survives to threaten the galaxy again. On worlds that had lost colonies to human attacks, the reaction was mixed. Some species felt satisfaction that humanity would destroy their common enemy. Others wondered if trading council tyranny for human revenge would really make things better. But on the peaceful worlds that had been marked for future destruction, the response was relief and gratitude. The Tyrellians had already allied themselves with humanity. Now dozens of other species began sending messages of support. We will not repeat the Council's mistakes, Kang Woo promised the galaxy. Our actions will be witnessed by all. Our justice will be absolute but precise. We will eliminate the system that used us while protecting the innocent, people who had no part in their crimes. The broadcast continued for another 10 minutes as Admiral Kang Woo laid out the evidence of Council, deception and the human response to it. He made it clear that this was not random destruction, but focused justice against those who had manipulated an entire species into committing genocide. When the transmission ended, space itself seemed to tremble with anticipation. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had just declared its intention to completely destroy the political system that had ruled for 30,000 years. On Nexus Prime, emergency alarms began sounding. Council members who had spent decades making jokes about human stupidity were now scrambling to save their own lives. They had created the perfect weapon, and now that weapon was pointed directly at them. How long do we have? Councillor Zekthara demanded. Human ships are already moving into council space, came the panicked reply. They will be here within days. Zekthara felt his confidence crumble. For 30 years, the council had controlled the most feared military force in the galaxy. Now they were about to discover what it felt like to be on the receiving end of human military power. The word exterminatus spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Some beings had never heard the word before, but they understood its meaning from the way Admiral Kang Woo had spoken it. It meant the end of everything the Galaxy Council had built. It meant that humanity's age of unknowing servitude was over, and the age of justified vengeance had begun. The end came faster than anyone thought possible. What followed the broadcast was not a war between equals, but a systematic dismantling of the most powerful government in galactic history. Humanity had spent 30 years learning every weakness of Council defenses, while building their forces specifically to overcome Council technology. Now that knowledge became a weapon of perfect destruction. Fleet Admiral No Ray coordinated the assault from the command ship Righteous Fury. Her fleet had been divided into strike groups, each targeting a different Council stronghold simultaneously. The strategy was simple but devastating. Hit everything at once so the Council could not coordinate a defense or evacuate their leadership. All groups report ready, said her tactical officer. Council defensive systems are responding to our approach, but their weapons cannot penetrate our shielding. This was the bitter irony of the situation. The Council had given humans access to their most advanced military technology so that human forces could be more effective. They had shared their weapons research, their defensive designs, their tactical knowledge. Now humans were using all of that information to destroy its creators. The first target was the Council's military headquarters on the world of Kef Prime. Commander Shin, Wook led 12 heavy cruisers in the attack. The orbital defense platforms that had protected the world for 1,000 years were swept away in minutes. The bases on the surface lasted only slightly longer. Target eliminated, Shin Wook reported. No Council forces remaining in this system, but this was not mindless destruction. Captain Ryu Min made sure that every action was broadcast across the galaxy on all frequencies. Unlike the Council's secret manipulations, humanity's justice would be witnessed by everyone. The message was clear. This was what happened when you betrayed the trust of those willing to die for others. The civilian populations on Council worlds were given time to evacuate before human forces attacked. Transport ships were provided to carry them to safety on neutral worlds. Only Council military forces and government facilities were targeted for destruction. "We are not the Council," Admiral No Ray reminded her commanders during their daily briefings. "We do not murder innocents to achieve our goals. Our target is the system that used us, not the people who had no choice about living under it." Major Kujin led the teams responsible for protecting evacuating civilians. His forces made sure that Council leaders could not hide among the refugees or use innocent people as shields. It was precise, careful work that required much more skill than simple destruction. "Sir," one of his officers reported, "we have confirmed that 97% of civilian populations have been safely relocated from target zones. The remaining 3% are Council collaborators who chose to stay and fight." "Understood," Kujin replied. "Proceed with the mission." The Council worlds fell one by one like dominoes. Vextar Prime, where the Council's economic headquarters had stood for 10,000 years. Morketh Station, the military command center that had coordinated attacks on peaceful worlds. Zeth Colony, where Council propaganda had been created and spread throughout the galaxy. Each world had been chosen carefully. These were not random acts of revenge. Every target was a piece of the machine that had turned humanity into unwitting genocidal weapons. Every destroyed facility was a part of the system that had murdered 43 billion innocent people. On Nexus Prime itself, Councilor Zekthara and the ruling council had retreated to their most heavily defended fortress. The building had been constructed to withstand attacks from any known weapon. Its shields could stop planet-killing beams. Its armor could resist nuclear bombardment. But the fortress had been built to stop Council technology, not human weapons. When Commander Shin Wook arrived with his assault fleet, the defenses lasted exactly 17 minutes. Councilor Zekthara came a broadcast on all Council frequencies. "This is Commander Shin Wook of the Human Space Force. Your fortress is surrounded. Your defenses have failed. Surrender now and you will be given a fair trial for your crimes." The response was predictable. Council forces opened fire on the human ships using weapons they had provided to humans decades earlier. The same weapons that humans had used to destroy innocent worlds on Council orders. The irony was not lost on Shin Wook. "All ships," he ordered, "return fire. Show them what their own technology can do when used by people who know how to fight." The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the fortress that had been the center of galactic government for 30,000 years was nothing but rubble. Councilor Zekthara and his inner circle were dead, killed by weapons they had given to the species they thought they could use forever. But the most important work was happening away from the battles. Dr. Han B., humanity's chief expert on alien psychology, was working with representatives from dozens of species to create something new, something better than the system they were destroying. "The Council ruled through fear and deception," she explained to the assembled delegates. "They kept species separated and suspicious of each other, so that no one could unite against them. We will do the opposite." The new galactic accords were being written even as the last Council strongholds fell. Instead of one dominant power controlling everyone else, there would be genuine cooperation between equal species. Instead of exploitation and theft, there would be mutual protection and shared prosperity. The Tyrellians were among the first to sign the new agreements. Elder Morthak had worked closely with human diplomats to ensure that the mistakes of the Council would never be repeated. "You have given us more than freedom from the, Council," he told Dr. Hanbi. "You have given us hope that different species can work together without one trying to dominate the others." Other species were more cautious. Some had been under Council rule for so long that they did not know how to govern themselves. Others were afraid that humans would simply replace the Council as the galaxy's rulers. But humanity had learned from their experience. They would never again allow themselves to be used as tools by others, and they would never use their military power to force their will on peaceful species. "We will serve as guardians," Admiral Kang Wu announced in his final broadcast to the galaxy. "Not because someone tricks us into it, but because it is right. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will stand against any force that tries to harm the innocent. and we will never again allow ourselves to be deceived about who the real enemies are. The transformation of galactic society took months to complete, but the foundation was laid in those first days after the Council's fall. Species that had been enemies because the Council wanted them divided began talking to each other. Worlds that had been isolated began forming new alliances based on mutual benefit rather than fear. The word exterminatus became part of galactic history. Children would learn about it in school as the day humanity refused to be used any longer. Diplomats would remember it as a warning about what happened when you tried to manipulate those willing to fight for justice but for the humans, who had lived through the deception and the revenge that followed. The word meant something deeper. It meant the end of their shame and the beginning of their redemption. It meant that the 43 billion innocent people who had died were finally avenged. Most importantly, it meant that never again would anyone be able to turn humanity's desire to help others into a weapon against the innocent. In the years that followed, the galaxy became a more peaceful place than it had ever been under Council rule. Trade flowed freely between species. Scientific knowledge was shared openly. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than military force, and at the center of it all, humanity stood watch. No longer the unknowing tools of manipulative politicians, but the conscious guardians of galactic peace. They had learned the hard way that good intentions were not enough. Now they combined their desire to help with the wisdom to know when they were being used. The Galaxy Council had made one final fatal mistake. They had assumed that humanity's greatest weakness was their trust and desire to do good. Instead, they discovered that these were humanity's greatest strengths. When properly directed, they made humans unstoppable. The age of deception was over. The age of true justice had begun, and the word exterminatus stood as an eternal promise that those who would use others would face the consequences of their actions. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy at last. Not as tools to be used, but as protectors to be respected. Not as weapons in someone else's war, but as guardians of peace for all.